Hello, this is David Dean, and I have been really excitedly waiting for the new constructor. I finally got him up to legendary and leveled him all the way up. It is the heavy base Kyle, and I've already put out a video, just a really quick one to show you some of his powers and to dispel some myths and rumors about him that have been causing some issues. And now I wanted to do a walkthrough because I keep getting all these questions about constructors because people know that's what I love to do. I love doing the big base builds, the trap tunnel builds, and soloing the storm shield defenses with these gigantic builds. So I keep getting asked about the three main constructors, mainly now with heavy base Kyle out. And basically what I'm talking about is the mega base, the heavy base, and the power base. Most people have power base as Nox. I had it as part of the founders, and they of course went with Kyle because they seem to go with Kyle almost all the time, but that's a whole nother issue. But and one thing, part of the confusion with the constructors, a lot of it has to do, unfortunately, with Epic. They seem to make things unnecessarily complicated. Like in this case, you have in big bold letter power base Kyle, and a lot of people just call Kyle, but Kyle is the power base, the heavy base, the mega base, the Blitzen base, and is that even the Hazard 13 looks like he's Kyle also. And also the power base can also be Penny, it can be Nox. This causes a lot of confusion because constantly I have people asking me, do you like Kyle better than Nox? Well, I don't know which one you're talking about. So the whole time I'm talking here, if you're ever posting in my comments, go by the class name, Power Base or Mega Base. Don't give me the person's name because that just kind of causes confusion. And they really seem to love in doing that. Also, sometimes I will log into here, and like here, I got Power Base, and his second power at level 2 is the base power. And sometimes it will show this base power with all the perks that go to it. So instead of saying extends 3 tiles or 3 segments, it will say 7 segments. Other times I'll log in and it's like this. And I really don't know what causes it to do that. Right now, all of them are showing it like I kind of want it to. But that is one thing, once again, that causes some confusions for people. And even if you watch my other video, Heavy Base Kyle, in the mission, if you click on his powers, it says he has 4 segments. Where, no, his base goes out 6 segments. But I just want you to know that a lot of the confusion out there isn't you or me or the people playing the game. It's kind of the way Epic does the game. But I did want to go through power base, heavy base, and mega base and just show you the differences and why I choose what I choose when I choose it. And a lot of times it's not just, and like in this case, it's not a straight thing. I don't play the same constructor every single time. And you do have all these other constructors like Sentinel, Plasma Specialist, and there's just a ton of other ones, Guardian, and they specialize in Decoy or Plasma Pulse or Bull Rush, which is great. If you love that stuff, it's awesome. But I really focus more on the constructors. First of all 3 constructors at least have this mega base power, which makes the base go out at least 2 additional tiles. And as we go through this, you'll see 2 of them go out 7 segments, and then the new guy, Heavy, goes out 6. And those are the guys I'm going to be focusing on this video. And just to show you, and I apologize, I get constant things coming in, invites to missions and people texting me. I can't keep up with it a lot of times, or I'm working on a video like right now. So please don't get too irritated with me on it because I want to focus on getting out the videos. That right now is the priority. But going with Mythic, I know when a lot of people started playing the game, I know I did, it's like, oh, it's a mythic. It has to be better than everything out there. No, that is definitely not the case. We'll start with Mega Base and Power Base. Right off the bat, Power Base has a higher health and a higher health regen rate, where Mega Base has a higher shield and regen rate. And also he has the higher ability damage and hero healing modifier, okay? But they're really, really close. So to me, those numbers aren't that big of a deal because there's just not that much of a difference between them. So really that has no impact on me when choosing what to go with. Coming through here, they actually have the majority of the powers on these are the same. Like here, all of three will have creative engineering. All three will have the base power. This one, between Mega Base and Power Base, both of them have the Plasma Pulse. If you go down here, Power Base has it down here. You just have to wait for it a little bit longer. Same thing with Kinetic Overload. He gets it early on, Power Base, but Mega Base still ends up getting it later on. So it's a little bit confusing when they don't have it side by side, but yeah, like the first three powers, they all cancel each other out. You get down here to level 5, automated defense. Now his base, and actually I want to go over the base just for those people, and right now it just switched to 7 segments. But Power Base didn't switch. He's still at 3 segments. This is the stuff that kind of drives me crazy because it changes just by clicking on it and then walking away and clicking on it a second time. And once again, that's what causes the confusion. But anyway, for your base, and you've seen this, and this is another thing. You call it a base, you call the character power base, heavy base, whatever, and you also call your base as far as like your home base. Using this word base in all these different forms causes a lot of confusion. But here's what this does right here. It connects the pieces of the building. You've seen the glow that happens when the constructor puts this down. Affected walls will do energy damage to any enemy that strikes the wall with a melee attack. Once again, you can see this in my video with the heavy base where the mobs are pounding on my walls and they're basically killing themselves because of the base doing damage to them. Attached structures gain 12% resistance, so they're just stronger. And it extends out. The base, the normal is 3 segments. He has 7 because of other bonuses we will see. And only 1 base can be active at a time. Still, this really drives me crazy because this is an ability, just like grenades are an ability for a soldier. And if one soldier throws a grenade at a husk and a second soldier throws one at the same time, they both do damage to those husks. So if the other abilities can pile on each other, there's no reason the bases shouldn't be able to pile on to each other. Just saying. But we're going to press on. And then this shows the additional perks he gets later on. We will stick with over here on this side just what the base does with its base abilities. Once again, using the word base multiple ways, causing confusion. Alright, number 5. Automated base. It goes out 1 piece and 1 additional piece, so it started with 3, now it's out to 4. He gets this power at 8. Once again, those are canceling out. So far, pretty much everything is canceled out until over here, safety protocols. The power base gets increased damage resistance of structures within the area of the base by 6%. So at this point, his structures are stronger, the power base. But you go down here, Lofty Arches increases health of buildings within the area of the base by 15. So that one, 1 increases health, 1 increases damage resistance. Basically, both of them are making it a stronger base. So they kind of cancel each other out also. So basically, everything so far has canceled out. You do get on the Mega Base increased building speed. To me, normally that isn't a big thing because I'm building a big structure. So by the time I put down all the tier 1 structures and come around, I can put on the tier 2, level them up to tier 2 without issue. And once again, when I come around, I'm ready to put them up to tier 4, or tier 3, my bad. So it's a nice ability, but it's not going to change my mind on which hero to pick. And then we get down here. Now, the decoy power. I love this power. Basically, this is my get out of free power. If I ever get overran, throw down the decoy, everything goes to that. And then I can back up and either just go off with a double barrel shotgun and take out everything, or I can just start running if I know I'm not going to be able to take them out. And I kind of use Bull Rush the same way. I'm not that big of a fan of Bull Rush. I really didn't use it to attack. I used it, once again, when I got in over my head, I'd hit Bull Rush to do a really fast sprint out of the area just to give me room to get the fight back under control. A lot of people do love it, and you can do a Bull Rush at a smasher while he's charging to try to stop that charge. But I haven't had much luck with that later on in the game with elemental smashers. And also, I also had an issue with my weapons. A lot of time when I did the Bull Rush into a smasher, my weapon wouldn't work afterwards, and I'd have to rotate back and forth with weapons to get it to work. Not sure if anybody else has had that issue, but I definitely did. But once again, so everything is pretty much the same all the way down here till through level 8, except for Bull Rush and Decoy and Mega Base being able to build a little faster. Get down a little further. Power modulation, structures attached to the base. And just to let you know, after I'm done with this comparison, I'm going to go through the squad bonuses, what helps the constructors. And I bring it up here because this power modulation, only the power base has this power out of the ones I'm doing. But he also has it as a perk you can put in the other constructors' tactical support squad. Or tactical squad. And so Mega Base does not have this power, but you can put it in his squad bonus to give him this power. So just starting off, it does have it, but what it is your pieces regenerate. And this is actually a pretty big deal, mainly in the Storm Shield defenses where they're going on a really long time and you have wave and wave of them coming in. Having that regeneration just kind of makes life easier for a constructor and one less thing to worry about. Now, to me, a huge difference is where we get here with Mega Base having electrified floors. This is doing damage to everything that walks in. Heavy Base Constructor has it also, and you can see it in that video that I mentioned before, where all the mobs are just taking damage just walking across the floors. And with most of my builds, I put down the wooden floor spikes, which slow them down 30%, which means they're taking 30% more damage from the electrified floors. I also do a lot of launchers, and I notice since the last update, they changed fall damage, and they made it sound like a really great thing for characters, how they changed the fall damage, which it kind of is, but it basically took away damage on the floor and wall launchers with Husk. And before, it's always been the floor and wall launchers do 0 damage to the Husk when they hit it, but then the Husk would take fall damage, and that's where they would get the damage off those traps. Now that has gone away. Still, those things cause the Husk to stay in the trap tunnels longer, and therefore the electrified floors are doing much more damage to them. So we got that going. These two cancel each other out. Big Brother, this increases the size of the base one more tile. Fully Contained increases the damage reflected by the base by 50%. As we said, anything covered by the base, when the Husk hit it, they take damage. Now on both of these characters, they are doing more damage to the Husk. I build most of my trap tunnels so things aren't built pounding on the base. They are getting killed in the trap tunnels, so I don't worry too much about this. And I know other people, they definitely build their bases so that Husk have to sit there and pound their way through, and that in that case you definitely want this power. These were powers that canceled each other out earlier on. Plasma Pulse, Kinetic Overload. We get to Mega Base. Both of them have it. This, we already talked about the lofty architecture with the increased health of the building. So Mega Base has more health on his buildings, but Power Base has more resistance on his building. Basically, both buildings are stronger. And then here, this has changed things. Before, I liked the Power Base until I got the Mythic Mega Base, until they updated the recycling in the last update or two. And before, you would get very few materials to the point it really didn't make it worthwhile. And now, if you are leveling up your materials to tier 3, they have increased it 6-fold how much materials you get. And it's just kind of an insane amount. If you stay around your base, you're going to be loading up on your lumber, stone, and metal without issue. And I really loved it. And I went back to playing power base constructors. Mainly if I was low on materials, or if I knew I had a Storm Shield defense coming up. Hey, go run 4 or 5 missions with the power base on my other character, the no cash account. That character can carry 4,000 of each. I would finish every mission with 4,000, put all the metal into my home base, and then go do another mission and get another 4,000. It worked great. So now the power base, once again, is really good because of that if you need materials. And if you're like me, a lot of times you get in groups with a constructor and nobody helps build. Before, that was a huge problem. Now, if you got a power base, it's not that big of a problem, because you're going to end up having more materials if you build at the very beginning of the mission than you walked into the mission with. So that is a great improvement. And then we're going to compare the Mega Base to the Heavy, and then I will go through and just tell you how I pick the different ones depending on the missions. But once again, tons of duplicate powers. Creative Engineering, same. Plasma Pulse, this is one thing with him. He does not have the Plasma Pulse. That's okay. I think with the decoy, the Plasma Pulse is great, and you do have that with the power base. So you put down the decoy, you throw down the Plasma Pulse, and you can take out a bunch of husk really fast. Neither of these have these combinations. So this one has the Plasma Pulse, the Mega Base, where the Heavy Base has the decoy. And then you get in bases, as I said, they start off exactly the same. And then 5, both of them have automatic defenses, and this is where it changes. Here you get that building speed increase, which is nice. This is huge. On the new Heavy Base Constructor, his base generates energy when enemies die within the area affected by the base. After 30 kills, base emits an explosion that knocks husks back and deals almost 7,000 energy damage in a 3-tile radius. And I've tested this out. I've used it on my Storm Shield defense. Still want to do a lot more testing and play with this, but this is just great. There was a bunch of rumors out there that the base only did damage on a flat plane. Basically, whatever level the base was at, that's where it did damage. And I had like 5 people tell me that. And then one person said, no, that's not true. And so I went and double checked it now that I actually have the constructor. And no, I had it 3 tiles high, and it was taking out things 3 tiles below it. So, and it does a big amount of damage, and it is great, and it does not set off propane. That was another thing people were saying. Nope, they don't, doesn't set off propane. You can go back to blaming that on soldiers throwing grenades into the trap tunnels when they shouldn't. But here we have the difference. We have the Bull Rush over here. Oh, and he has the Bull Rush also, so that cancels out. Over here you have the decoy, as I was talking about. I love the decoy. Of the 3, Plasma Pulse, Decoy, and Bull Rush, I would take Decoy as my favorite of the 3. Moving on, electric floors. They both have electric floors, so that is great for both of them. Both of them are doing a bunch of damage. Over here though, overclock traps decreases reload rate for all traps within the base range by 30%. That is huge. Doing normal missions, you're never going to be eating up your traps in them. And so basically your traps are wasted when the mission's over, and usually they have tons of charges left in on them. Now they're going to go off 30% faster, and that is just a massive amount of extra damage. It's also, those launchers are going off 30% faster, throwing around the mobs. Great. You just got to be careful in the longer missions or in Storm Shield defenses, where you may need to go running out and replace launchers and other traps if these are going off, are getting used up because they're going off so fast. Big Brother, that is the one base increase that the heavy base does not have. And then he gets the faster building. Where was that? Back here, fast build, fast build. So those two cancel each other out. Fully contained, we talked about that. Damage reflected to the husk when they're beating on your walls. The heavy base does not have that increase. So electric floors we already talked about. We already talked about bull rush, kinetic overload, that gets canceled out between them. And then we get down to the last two. Mega base, we already talked about that. Increased health of building. And then 2 more tiles. Here you get 2 more tiles. So you end up with the mega base being 7, as we mentioned, and the heavy base being 1 tile shorter, 6. And then you increase the radius of field the base by 2 tiles and damage by 80. Huge, huge thing. And so you're off by 1 tile here, just to make it clear. Going back to field to base. It generates enemies when enemies die within the area of the affected base. So this base goes out 6 tiles. Everything that dies, husk dies, goes into the base until it gets 30, and then it does a blast. Originally 3 tiles, but now increased 2 more, so it goes out the blast 5 tiles. 1 shorter than the actual radius of the base itself. So just to make that clear. So these have a lot of damage, and basically going through the 3 different ones here, I hate that they're all Kyle because it makes them all look the same. Basically, if you're focusing on 100% defense, protecting the largest amount of areas, having a very strong structure, and actually generating materials to protect that structure and the structure itself regenerating, the best way to go is power base. Whether it's power base Kyle, power base Nox, power base Penny, power base is the way to go, pure defense. Then if you want kind of a half and half, defense and some offense with the electrified floors, then you go mega base. Mega base is kind of the in-between one right now. If you want to have a decent defense but do a bunch of damage, it is better to go with the heavy base Kyle. And if you like trap tunnels, heavy base Kyle is the only one that has that increase to traps rate that really increases how much those traps are going to be going off, which is just a great thing to have. And I am going to be talking about Mechanist Harper really fast. She came out during a scavenger event, and hopefully she'll be coming out again. They came out with the hydraulic weapons a second time. Hopefully they'll be coming out with her a second time. But just to let you know, of the 3, the most fun for me to play right now is heavy base. He just seems doing great. I love the traps going off more because I love trap tunnels. The electric floors are picking up that damage that is no longer being done by the launchers, and seems to just work really well. And the other thing is on the power base, as I said, and we will get to that. Actually, we'll get to that later. That's part of the bonus well, we're here. So power modulation. So basically his power to regenerate, I can give that as additional power to either heavy base or to mega base, which is awesome. One thing that makes this one a little bit, this is a new tactical bonus, which we really need as constructors because we only had one, so that really hurt us. That was constructor focused as far as defense. Now your base generates energy when enemies are killed within the area of the affected base. So if I'm using this with either mega base or power base, it would go out 7 tiles. After 30 kills, base emits an explosion that knocks us back and deals damage in a 3 tile radius. So it's going to take Husk and gather those kills from 7 tiles, but the damage is only going to go out 3 tiles. So if you're going to be using this and want that explosion to hit them, you're really going to have to place it in a very strategic place, which is kind of good because 7 tiles out, you're going to be killing all those little husks, the dwarf husk, the normal husk, anything with low hit dice like the pitchers. And the only thing getting in close to your base if you're doing trap tunnels are the husky husk and smashers, and they're the ones that are going to be getting hit by this big blast. So once again, I think it's a great thing. I actually want to redesign some of my trap tunnels in my Storm Shield defense just so I can use this base in a much better fashion. And then unfortunately his bonuses do nothing to help. Okay, increase construction speed by 24%. I'm never going to slot him for that bonus. But we will get here, and I will talk more about perks with non-constructors here in a second. But I want to go through, because a lot of people will always bring up this constructor. And who is she? Because she was great. She was awesome. I just hope they bring her back. Mechanist, she is focused on traps. But her base only goes out 4 tile radius, which is not very big. So if you have a small base you're trying to protect, this is great. And with trap tunnels, basically where she is great, and actually I want to bring this up with the heavy base, now it's more practical if you want to do a lot of building to bring more than one constructor into a mission. Usually in the past you only had one constructor because the bases don't add on to each other. But now you have something like this where the power base is really for the defense of the main objective. And then you can have heavy base or Mechanist Harper, and there's a few others that kind of help out with damage, be placed on the trap tunnel away from the main objective. And they will just do some massive damage in those trap tunnels. And we'll go through that here. She has Plasma Pulse, nice. Starts with the same base everybody else does. But then she gets increased damage done by all traps within the base. Do 30% more damage. Increased base connectivity by 1 piece. So that's her 4th tile. She has Decoy. Once again, this is great. You can put the decoy in the trap tunnel, pulling all the mobs into those traps. Electrified floors, we saw that before. Increases trap durability. The thing about this, it increases all traps in the zone. Whether you put them down, somebody else put them down, whether it's a Storm Shield defense and you had put them down 3 Storm Shield defenses ago and you come in with this hero, all traps in the zone durability increases 25%. Overclock traps, once again, decreasing reload rate of all traps within the base range by 30%. So now the traps are going off 30% faster, they're doing 30% more damage, and they're lasting 25% longer. And then she gets the increased health of buildings within the area of the base by 15, which is nice, and she gets the recycling for building. But what she is really about is just doing massive damage with traps. And the best thing about her is her bonus, increased trap durability by 25%. Now in most missions you don't need that because your traps don't last that long. But with the or at least before with your other constructors. But now you have a constructor who traps are going off 30% faster. That's going to take away the durability of them really fast. This will make them last 25% longer. Also, if you're doing storm shield defenses where you're getting attacked by over 1,000 husk on one wave through one set of trap tunnels, the only way those traps are going to last is to have this perk on your constructor. And it really saved me in Twine Peaks 8, 9, and 10. It really helped out. So just to let you know, if anybody brings up Mechanist, this is who she is. Trap specific constructor. And now just how I run my perks. We will change her out. And actually, this is how, before the change to the recycling, where did he go? There. This is how I was running my constructor most of the time. I was running Mega Base to have the big base, to have the electrified floors, and also by putting the power modulation in here, I got the regeneration. This is the character, I did a whole video on her, where I think she is the best squad bonus in the entire game. It doesn't sound like much, increases all ability damage. It's not all ability damage. Basically, it's all damage that is not a weapon. So your grenades, the lingering effect, does more damage. Electrified floors do more damage. Your gadgets, such as the heal, do more healing. Just basically increasing everything by 20%. And increasing the electric floors by 20% is just huge. I have not tested it out with the heavy constructor yet to double check to see if his base explosion is affected by this, but it definitely should be. But I will, no, definitely needs to be checked out. But this is how I was originally running until they increased the recycling. When they increased that recycling by 6-fold, then I get him out of there. Change. What did I have in his place? I don't think I had anything, because there's really anything that really helped him out. Basically, I just put in the highest level character I had just to boost up his health and shield. And then I would run the power base to get all those materials. So at the end of the mission, I could dump the metal on my storm shield defense, and then I could run another mission, do that recycling, and get it all back. But now I am loving the heavy base, and with him, I would actually most of the time probably be running. Where'd she go? Nope, she is in the support. My bad. So that is going to be a tough choice, but I will put the power base for tactical, giving me that regeneration he doesn't have. Here I will either run with Sarah with the ability damage to increase hopefully the blasts of the base and also the electric floor damage, and also it should affect the damage the husks take when they beat upon my walls. But if I am doing a long mission like a category 4 or a storm shield defense, probably a lot of times I will switch over to the increased trap durability for 25%. So his traps are going off 30% faster, but they're kind of lasting 25% longer, which really means they're going 30% faster, but only a 5% decrease in how long they'll last. So if you have her, that's the way I would run it. If you don't, then go ahead and run with Sarah. And that is my video talking about these constructors. Please ask all the questions you want. Let me know where I was right, where I was wrong, what else you want to see and know. I really love the constructor class. I have played it to death and still enjoy it in the game. I love soloing with them. So take care and have a great night.